Picture this. You're getting ready for Friday night. Not scrolling through reservation apps or comparing ticket prices online. Just tucking a $5 bill into your wallet, knowing that's all you need. That crisp Lincoln will buy dinner for two at an Italian restaurant in Greenwich Village. 2 seats at a Broadway show where legends are being made. And a cab ride home through Manhattan streets lit up like a dream. All of it, every bit of it, for $5. Today, that same night costs $300 minimum, probably more if you want decent seats. But in 1960s New York, romance wasn't expensive. It was accessible. Working-class kids could take dates to Broadway. Factory workers could afford dinner and a show. The city belonged to everyone, not just people with expense accounts. This is the story of what $5 could buy you on a 1960s NYC date night. And why that world disappeared. The dinner, $2.50. You'd start at a neighborhood Italian restaurant. Not the tourist traps on Mulberry Street, but the real places locals knew. Red checkered tablecloths, candles stuck in Chianti bottles with wax dripping down the sides, Frank Sinatra on the jukebox, the smell of garlic and tomato sauce hitting you the second you walked in. The waiter, probably named Sal or Tony, brought bread without being asked. Real bread, crusty on the outside, soft inside, with butter that actually tasted like something. You'd order spaghetti with meatballs for $1.25. Your date got chicken parmigiana for the same price. That included salad with Italian dressing from a bottle that lived on every table in New York. It included a side of pasta. It included bread that kept coming until you stopped eating it. The portions weren't dainty, they were massive.
Meatballs the size of baseballs. Chicken cutlets that hung over the plate edges. Sauce so thick and rich you'd soak up every drop with that bread. You'd leave full. Not just satisfied, full in a way that made walking to the theater feel necessary. Total for 2 people, with tip, $2.75. You'd leave $3 on the table because Sal remembered your name and poured wine you didn't order into water glasses when the owner wasn't looking. That left you with $2 for the rest of the night, and $2 was plenty. The show, $1.80. Broadway in the 1960s wasn't a luxury experience reserved for tourists and corporate entertainment. It was where New Yorkers went on dates, where secretaries and construction workers could afford to see the best theater in the world. A decent seat at a Broadway show cost $6 to $9 in 1960.
But if you didn't need front orchestra, if you were willing to sit in the mezzanine or the balcony, you could get 2 tickets for under $2 total. And what shows you could see? In 1960, The Sound of Music had just opened. Camelot was running. Bye Bye Birdie. These weren't revivals or nostalgia tours. This was theater being created, history being made in real time. You'd sit in seats that weren't particularly comfortable, in a theater that smelled like cigarettes and old velvet, surrounded by other couples who'd also come straight from dinner. The lights would dim, the orchestra would start, and for 2 hours, you'd watch something spectacular. Real singers, no microphones, real dancers, real actors performing 8 shows a week. No recorded tracks, no screens. Just talent and effort, and the magic that happens when hundreds of people watch the same story unfold together in the dark. Between acts, you'd talk about the show. Your date would grab your hand. Maybe you'd buy a program for a quarter, even though you didn't need to, because every penny counted. But you wanted something to remember this by, something physical that proved you'd been there, seen that, lived this moment. After the show, you'd walk out into Times Square. Not the sanitized, Disney-fied Times Square of today, the real Times Square, slightly dangerous, full of neon and noise and possibility. You'd feel like you'd been somewhere important, done something significant, seen something that mattered. And you still had money left. The cab home, 60 cents. Getting home meant hailing a cab, not calling an Uber, not checking surge pricing. Just standing on the corner, raising your arm, and within 30 seconds, a yellow taxi would pull over. The driver might grunt a greeting, might not, might tell you his life story during the 20-minute ride from Midtown to wherever you lived, might not say a word. The meter clicked away at maybe 30 cents per mile. A ride from Times Square to the Upper West Side cost about 50 cents. You'd tip 10 cents because that's what you did. Total, 60 cents. The driver would pull up to your building. Your date would lean against you in the back seat, tired and happy, smelling like perfume and marinara sauce. You'd help them out of the cab, walk them to their door, maybe steal a kiss on the stoop. And there, in your wallet, would be 40 cents left over from your original $5 bill. Enough for coffee tomorrow morning. Enough to feel like you'd done it right. Taken someone special somewhere special. Created a memory. All for less than the cost of a movie ticket today. What made it possible? The economics that made $5 date nights possible weren't magic. They were the result of a completely different cost structure. Restaurants kept prices low because rent was cheap. Theater tickets stayed affordable because Broadway was for regular New Yorkers, not just tourists. Cab rides cost cents because gas was 31 cents per gallon, and drivers made modest livings, not algorithmic surge-priced fortunes. But more than economics, there was culture. Dating in the 1960s had expectations. You took someone to dinner. You went somewhere nice. Not necessarily expensive, but nice. Somewhere with tablecloths and waiters who knew the menu. Then you did something cultural. A show, a movie, maybe a jazz club. Then you got them home safely. The whole ritual cost money, but not absurd money. Not only rich kids can do this money. Working class romance thrived because romance itself was affordable. A guy making $100 per week could take someone out every Friday night without going broke. A secretary making $60 per week could afford to split the check if she wanted to. Dating wasn't about displaying wealth. It was about showing someone you cared enough to plan an evening, to spend time together, to create an experience. When it all changed, the 1970s fiscal crisis started changing everything. Restaurants raised prices as costs increased. Broadway tickets climbed. The affordable cultural scene that had defined New York began pricing out regular people. By the 1980s, a date that cost $5 in 1960 cost $50. By the 1990s, $150. Today, that exact same experience costs $300 to $400 minimum. Wages increased too, sure. Someone making $100 per week in 1960 makes about $1,000 per week now. But that's only 10 times more. Date night costs 60 to 80 times more. The math doesn't work. What was once accessible became exclusive. Broadway became something tourists do, not something regular New Yorkers can afford every month. The culture shifted too. Dating became more casual. Dinner and a show felt old-fashioned, something your grandparents did. Why spend $400 on one night when you could grab drinks for $50? Why commit to hours at the theater when you could just go to a bar? The economics forced the culture to adapt, and in adapting, something was lost. The romance we can't afford. There's something heartbreaking about looking at what $5 bought in 1960s New York. Not just the prices, but the possibilities. The idea that regular people could afford romance. That working-class kids could take dates to world-class restaurants and Broadway theaters. That spending an evening creating memories didn't require months of saving or going into debt. Today, if you have money, New York offers incredible date options. Michelin star restaurants, Hamilton tickets, private cars. But if you're making $60,000 per year, which is roughly the modern equivalent of what a 1960s factory worker made, Broadway might as well be on another planet. That $400 date night represents half a week's take-home pay. It's not accessible. It's not reasonable. It's not sustainable. The $5 date night died not because people stopped wanting romance, but because the city decided that romance, like everything else, should be a luxury good. Something you can afford if you're successful. Something you skip if you're not. The working-class couples who filled Broadway theaters and Italian restaurants in the 1960s have been replaced by tourists, expense accounts, and people wealthy enough that $400 doesn't register as real money. And we lost something in that transition. Not just affordability, but accessibility to culture, to experiences, to the rituals that made dating in New York feel special. Because when dinner, a show, and a cab home costs $5, love doesn't need a trust fund. It just needs a Friday night and someone worth spending it with.